ليلة الجمعة ليلة عظيمة مباركة يسن فيها الإكثار من الصلاة على سيدي ومولاي رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه من كل عمل صالح. The night of Jumu'ah, it's a blessed night, it's a beautiful night. The sunnah is to increase your salah upon the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام and every good deed. يروي الشيخان فيما اتفقا عليه عن ابن عباس رضي الله عنه قال. The hadith tonight is in a collection of both Bukhari and Muslim, read to us by Ibn Abbas, and again it's maybe not a hadith, it's more of an athar, but most scholars qualify it to a hadith because it's very important actually. And you may be surprised that it's actually in the collection of both Bukhari and Muslim. You may not, but I'll tell you the story anyways. This is what he says, and it's still within the theme of understanding Iman. This is our 17th hadith. This is probably the longest I've done any theme. Every other theme, I usually do 10 hadith and move on to something different. I've purposefully given the concept of understanding Iman a lot of time. I really think it's central, or it's an extremely important aspect of understanding Islam altogether. If you don't know what Iman is, and if you don't understand what it's supposed to be for you, and you're not working towards achieving that, then there's a big chunk missing of what it means to be a Muslim. So this is what Ibn Abbas said. قال أخبرني أبو سفيان أن هرقل قال له. So he's saying that Ibn Abbas is saying, Abu Sufyan told me. Abu Sufyan Sukhrah ibn Harb lived longer than the Prophet ﷺ did. Interestingly enough, Abu Sufyan Sukhrah ibn Harb is older than the Prophet ﷺ in age. And with that, he still ended up outliving the Prophet ﷺ by quite some time. So Ibn Abbas was a bit older. He was quite young when the Prophet ﷺ passed away. He remembers certain things, but he wasn't around for very long. But by the time Abu Sufyan, he was a bit older. So he gathered a lot of knowledge from the Sahaba, Ibn Abbas. He was a very had a very strong mind. He was very good at memorizing, and he asked all the right questions, and he spent time with all the right people. He was blessed that way. And he asked Abu Sufyan about this incident. Hiraql is the name of the Qaisar of Rome, meaning the leader or the king of the Roman Empire. His name was Hiraql at the time. And there's a famous incident that occurred just after Sulh al-Hudaybiyah, where Hiraql heard about the Prophet ﷺ. He was visiting Damascus, and he heard that there's this guy in Arabia that's causing a fuss. So he's like, well, what is this? Yeah, he's claiming prophecy. Like, oh, really? Yeah, and he's fought in a couple of wars, and he's won, and he beat these people, and he's beat that. So he's interested. You're like, okay, who knows him? He said, well, no one knows him here. Like, well, are there any merchants from Arabia that are around? Like, well, we can go to the market and see. So they go to the market, and it just happens to be Abu Sufyan's, his lucky day. He's actually in. Now, Abu Sufyan had left Mecca specifically because he despised the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. He hated the fact that this happened. He could see through it. He knew that the Prophet ﷺ had won. In the long run, he knew that he had won. So he got upset and he left, and they had put him aside after Ahzab. So he left and he went to Damascus as a businessman, which is what he did. But he spent much more time in Damascus than he ever did before, because he didn't want to go back to Mecca and face what they had done. And it's like he's running away from a problem that followed him right to Damascus. He says, SubhanAllah, Abu Sufyan. And it took a lot for him to accept Islam. He was thrown a lot of curveballs before he fully woke up. But this was one of them. Like, he just didn't seem to get it for so long. I could never understand him. He just took him so long to get it. But he was in Damascus, and they come asking, who knows this person in Muhammad, or the person who's claiming Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, claiming prophecy. So everyone in his caravan point at Abu Sufyan. He doesn't want to be pointed at. Like, he doesn't want to act like, I don't know him, but everyone's pointing at him. Oh, so you know him. Who's most related to him? And everyone points at Abu Sufyan, because also Abu Sufyan was the closest related person to him. So now he has no choice. He's taken to the castle, or to where Hiraql is staying. So he goes, and they take the caravan with him. Like, all the people who are working under him go with him. And he goes and he stands in front of Hiraql. And this is in the Sahihain. I'm taking for you just a piece of the hadith. The hadith is very, very long. I'm just taking a piece of it. And he tells him, you know Muhammad? Yes, I know Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Are you related to him? Yes, I'm related to him. He said, now I'm going to ask you questions. And I'm going to put behind you everyone who works with you. Now, he tells them, if he lies, just give me a sign that he lies, and the swordsman will have your head flying into the air. You'll be dead before you know it. Abu Sufyan would say, And the only reason I didn't lie that day is I knew that the people behind me would love nothing more than to see my head flying in the court of Hiraql. So I could not lie, because they don't like me. He wasn't a great employer. So the people behind him hated him. They were waiting for him to lie, just to point it out so he would die. So he couldn't lie. And it's a long story. He asked a lot of questions. I'm going to just quote for you in understanding Iman what Ibn Abbas tells us about Iman specifically. So قال عن ابن عباس قال أخبرني أبو سفيان عن هرقل أنه سأله, that he asked him, هل يزيد أتباعه أم ينقصون? This is what Huraql is saying. وسألتك هل يزيد أتباعه أم ينقصون? I asked you Abu Sufyan, because he asked him all these questions. Abu Sufyan answered honestly, and then Huraql gave a conclusion at the end. Right? And as he's giving the conclusion, this is what he's saying. And I asked you Abu Sufyan, do his followers increase or decrease? فأخبرتني أنهم يزيدون, and you told me that they increase, they're not decreasing. وكذلك الإيمان حتى يتم, and that is the way Iman is. It's always increasing until it comes to a point where it's fulfilled. وسألتك هل يرتد أحد عن دينه سخطة لدينه بعد أن يدخل فيه? Do any of his followers leave his deen out of hatred for it or dissatisfaction with it after they enter it? فزعمت أن لا, and you said no, that's not very common. وكذلك الإيمان حين تخالط بشاشته القلوب لا يسخطه أحد. And that is how Iman is. Once its beauty, bashashatuhu, meaning the beauty of it, once it touches the hearts, it is not something that you'll ever hate ever again. This is what Hiraql is saying. This is what Hiraql, the king of a different empire, is saying. That's how Iman is. Iman is always on the increase until it comes to a point where it's fulfilled within society. And that's how it is when you accept it. Once it truly touches your heart, when the beauty of it, when you get a sense of the beauty of Iman, you can't let it go. You'll never hate it. You'll never walk away from it again. The reason people walk away from Islam is because that piece isn't happening. Those who walk away from Islam is because Iman did not touch their hearts the way that it should have. Because once you taste, you can't get enough. And the reason is because we're not designing our Islamic experience for Muslims in a way where they get a sense of that first. They get a taste of the beauty of what Iman can do for you, of how happy, how satisfied, how fulfilled, how close, how much serenity and tranquility and peace you can find, how much love will exist in your heart when you actually understand and take within your internalized Iman. Because we're not doing that, people contemplate leaving. They would never. This is not what he's saying, alayhi salatu wasalam. This is what some foreign guy is saying. He's not even a prophet, but he understands it. This is a self-evident fact that people all across the board know. Once you taste the beauty of Iman, you'll never walk away from it. But if you don't, then it becomes an issue of do's and don'ts, and at some point you may end up losing your attachment to it. But the beauty of it, when it's there, it's that's it. You'll never walk away from it again. At the end of this long hadith, Huraql would end up saying, إن كان كما تزعم, if he is as you are claiming him to be, فَلَيَمْلِكَنَّ مَوْضِعَ هَدْ قَدَمَيَّ هَاتَيْنِ, he's going to rule the land that I'm standing on right now. وَلَوْ أَنِّي أَعْرِفُ أَنِّي أَصِلُ إِلَيْهِ لَقَبَّلْتُ قَدَمَيْهِ. And if I knew I could make it to him, I would kiss his feet. If I could make it to him, but I can't, because he's the king, he can't do this stuff. Scholars for ages have differed and debated whether this man accepted Islam internally or didn't. For ages they debated. He actually, by doing that, does that qualify? Because he said, إن كنت لأعلم أن نبي آخر الزمان خارج لكن ما ظننت أنه فيكم. I knew that the time for the last prophet of the end of time was coming, but I didn't think it was going to be one of you. I don't blame him. If you lived back then and you saw how the Arabs function, you're like, them? Out of them? Why them? What's the advantage? What's the angle? Like if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is choosing from this group of people, what's his angle? He must have an angle. What's the angle? Why them? There's nothing. What do they got? SubhanAllah. I think there are reasons, obviously. I think there are good reasons. I'm not going to waste your time tonight with that. I'll end with before that. But it's something that they felt. But he was able to actually say that. And really that long hadith, you can go and read it if you want from the Bukhari and Muslim and see and hear it. But I think this piece is very, very meaningful. The idea of Iman, that they had an understanding of it. Even someone like that, he understood. if you allow Iman, if the beauty of Iman touches your heart, you'll never walk away. You'll never turn your back on it ever again. So if there are feelings in your heart that I'm not sure, it's because you haven't allowed that to happen. Because you have not internalized the concept of Iman, tasted the sweet nectar of it and lived it and allowed yourself to enjoy it. Because once you do, there's no turning back, and you'll never. That's why people truly, and that's why I always push people to enjoy Ramadan, because once you enjoy Ramadan, and that's the best time to do it, you can never imagine your life without it, because that's and hopefully if you work hard, you can attain a certain amount of that beauty outside of Ramadan to keep you going. I hope that was of benefit. عن يروي الشيخان في متفق عليه عن ابن عباس قال سألت أو أخبرني أبو سفيان أن هرقل قال له وقد سألتك عن أتباعه هل يزيدون أو ينقصون فأخبرتني أنهم يزيدون فكذلك الإيمان حتى يتم وسألتك هل يرتد أحد سخطة لدينه فزعمت بعد أن يدخل فيه فزعمت ألا وكذلك الإيمان حين تخالط بشاشته القلوب لا يسخطه أحد. صدق رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم. سبحانك وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. جزاكم الله خيرا بارك الله فيكم. See you tomorrow inshallah for Jumu'ah at 2:30 بإذن الله تعالى. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.